Hello everyone. It is still April the 20th, 2021, and the 30th of Nisan, 5781 on the Hebrew calendar. I just want to thank everyone for coming back to my videos. And I just want to make a little side note here that whenever we finished up with chapter 16 on the last video, it said that the earth opened its, verse 31, verse 32, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all the people who had sided with Korach and everything they owned. And so that was only the people who sided with him. The people who did not side with him, even though they were part of those households, they did not, they were not taken down into Sheol. And we will find that out later on in the book of Numbers, because it will talk about the sons of Korach, and it will specifically say that they did not die or was taken down to Sheol. So we're going to start today in chapter 17, verse 1. And in the King James Version, that would be chapter 16, verse 36. So Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell Eleazar, the son of Aharon the Cohen, to remove the fire pans from the fire and scatter the smoldering coals at a distance, because they have become holy. Also the fire pans of these men, whose sin cost them their lives, have become holy, because they were offered before Adonai. Therefore have them hammered into plates to cover the altar. This will be a sign for the people of Israel." Eleazar the Cohen took the brass fire pans, which the men who had been burned to death had offered, and they hammered them into a covering for the altar, to remind the people of Israel that an ordinary person, not descended from Aharon, is not to approach and burn incense before Adonai, if he wants to avoid the fate of Korach and his group, as Adonai had said to him through Moshe. But the very next day, the whole community of the people of Israel complained against Moshe and Aharon. "You have killed Adonai's people." However, as the community was assembling against Moshe and Aharon, they looked in the direction of the tent of meeting and saw the cloud cover it and the glory of God appear. Moshe and Aharon came to the front of the tent of meeting. Adonai said to Moshe, "Get away from this assembly, and I will destroy them at once." But they fell on their faces. Moshe said to Aharon, "Take your fire pan, put fire for the altar in it, lay incense on it, and hurry with it to the assembly to make atonement for them, because anger has gone out from Adonai, and the plague has already begun." Aharon took it, as Moshe had said, and ran into the middle of the assembly. There the plague had already begun among the people, but he added the incense and made atonement for the people. He stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. Those dying from the plague numbered 14,700, besides those who died in the Korach incident. Aharon returned to Moshe at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and the plague was stopped. Adonai said to Moshe, "Speak to the people of Israel, and take from them staffs, one for each ancestral tribe, from each leader of a tribe, 12 staffs. Write each man's name on his staff, and write Aharon's name on the staff of Levi, for each tribe's leader is to have one staff. Put them in the tent of meeting in front of the testimony, where I meet with you. The staff of the man I am going to choose will sprout buds. In this way, I will put a stop to the complaints the people of Israel keep making against you." Moshe spoke to the people of Israel, and all their leaders gave him staffs, one for each leader, according to their ancestral tribes, 12 staffs. Aharon's staff was among their staffs. Moshe put the staffs before Adonai in the tent of the testimony. The next day Moshe went into the tent of the testimony, and there he saw that Aharon's staff for the house of Levi had budded. It had sprouted not only buds, but flowers and ripe almonds as well. Moshe brought out all the staffs from before Adonai to all the people of Israel, and they looked, and each man took back his staff. Adonai said to Moshe, "Return Aharon's staff to its place in front of the testimony. It is to be kept there as a sign to the rebels, so that they will stop grumbling against me and thus not die." Moshe did this. He did as Adonai had ordered him. But the people of Israel said to Moshe, "Oh no, we're dead men, lost. We're all lost. Whenever anyone approaches the tabernacle of Adonai, he dies. Will we all perish?" Chapter 18. Adonai said to Aharon, "You, your sons, and your father's family will be responsible for anything that goes wrong in the sanctuary. You and your sons with you will be responsible for anything wrong in your service as Kohanim. But you are to bring your kinsmen, the tribe of Levi, along with yourselves, to work together with you and help you. You and your sons with you, when you are there before the tent of meeting. They are to be at your disposal and perform all kinds of tasks related to the tent. Only they are not to come near the holy furnishings or the altar, so that neither they nor you will die. They will work together with you in your duties related to the tent of meeting. Whatever the service in the tent may be, but an unauthorized person is not to come near you. You will take charge of all the holy things and the altar, so that there will no longer be anger against the people of Israel. I myself have taken your kinsmen the Leviim from among the people of Israel. They have been given as a gift to Adonai for you, so that you can perform the service in the tent of meeting. You and your sons with you will exercise your prerogatives and duties as Kohanim in regard to everything having to do with the altar and within the curtain. I entrust the service required of Kohanim to you. The unauthorized person who tries to perform it is to be put to death." And I said to Aharon, "I myself have put you in charge of the contributions given to me. Everything consecrated by the people of Israel I have given and set aside for you and your sons. This is a perpetual law. Here's what is to be yours of the especially holy things taken for the fire. Everything they make, that is, every grain offering, sin offering, and guilt offering of theirs that they turn over to me, will be especially holy for you and your sons. You are to eat it in an especially holy place. Every male may eat it. It will be set apart for you. Also, yours is a contribution the people of Israel give in the form of wave offerings. I have given these to you, your sons, and your daughters with you. This is a perpetual law. Everyone in your family who is clean may eat it. All the best of the olive oil, wine, and grain, the first portion of what they give to Adonai, I have given to you. The first produce to turn ripe of all that is in their land, which they bring to Adonai, is to be yours. Every clean person in your family may eat it. Everything in Israel which has been consecrated unconditionally is to be yours. Everything that comes first out of the womb, of all living things which they offer to Adonai, whether human or animal, will be yours. However, the firstborn of a human being you must redeem, and the firstborn of an unclean beast you are to redeem. The sum to be paid for redeeming anyone a month old or over is to be 5 shekels of silver, 2 ounces, as you value it, using the sanctuary shekel. This is the same as 20 kilos. But the firstborn of an ox, sheep, or goat you are not to redeem. They are holy. You are to splash their blood against the altar and make their fat go up in smoke as an offering made by fire, as a fragrant aroma for Adonai. Their meat will be yours, like the breasts that is waved in the right thigh. They will be yours. All the contributions of holy things which the people of Israel offer to Adonai, I have given to you, your sons and your daughters with you. This is a perpetual law, an eternal covenant of salt before Adonai for you and your descendants with you. Adonai said to Aharon, you are not to have any inheritance or portion in their land. I am your portion and inheritance among the people of Israel. To the descendants of Levi I have given the entire tenth of the produce collected in Israel. It is their inheritance and payment for the service they render in the tent of meeting. From now on, the people of Israel are not to approach the tent of meeting, so that they will not bear the consequences of their sin and die. Only the Leviim are to perform this service in the tent of meeting, and they will be responsible for whatever they do wrong. This is to be a permanent regulation through all your generations. They are to have no inheritance among the people of Israel, because I have given to the Leviim as their inheritance the tenths of the produce which the people of Israel set aside as a gift for Adonai. This is why I have said to them that they are to have no inheritance among the people of Israel. And I said to Moshe, tell the Leviim, when you take for the people of Israel the tenth of the produce which I have given you from them as your inheritance, you are to set aside from it a gift for Adonai, 1/10 of the tenth. The gift you set aside will be accounted to you as if it were grain from the threshing floor and grape juice from the wine vat. In this way you will set aside a gift for Adonai from all your tenths that you receive from the people of Israel, and from these tenths you are to give to Aharon the Cohen the gift set aside for Adonai. From everything given to you, you are to set aside all that is due Adonai, the best part of it, its holy portion. Therefore you are to tell them, when you set aside from its best part, it will be accounted to the Leviim as if it were grain from the threshing floor and grape juice from the wine vat. You may eat it anywhere, you and your households, because your payment in return for your service in the tent of meeting. Moreover, because you will have set aside from it its best parts, you will not be committing any sin because of it, for you are not to profane the holy things of the people of Israel, or you will die. Chapter 19. Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, this is a regulation from the Torah which Adonai has commanded. Tell the people of Israel to bring you a young red female cow without default or defect, and which has never borne a yoke. You are to give it to Eleazar the Cohen. It is to be brought outside the camp and slaughtered in front of him. Eleazar the Cohen is to take some of its blood with his finger and sprinkle this blood toward the front of the tent of meeting 7 times. The heifer is to be burned to ashes before his eyes. Its skin, meat, blood, and dung is to be burned to ashes. The Cohen is to take cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet yarn and throw them onto the heifer as it is burning up. Then the Cohen is to wash his clothes and himself in water, after which he may re-enter the camp, but the Cohen will remain unclean until evening. The person who burned up the heifer is to wash his clothes and himself in water, but he will remain unclean until evening. A man who is clean is to collect the ashes of the heifer and store them outside the camp in a clean place. They are to be kept for the community of the people of Israel to prepare water for purification from sin. The one who collected the ashes of the heifer is to wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. For the people of Israel and for the foreigner staying with them, this will be a permanent regulation. Anyone who touches a corpse, no matter whose dead body it is, will be unclean for 7 days. He must purify himself with these ashes on the 3rd and 7th day. Then he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself the 3rd and 7th days, he will not be clean. Anyone who touches a corpse, no matter whose dead body it is, and does not purify himself, has defiled the tabernacle of Adonai. That person will be cut off from Israel, because the water for purification was not sprinkled on him. He will be unclean. His uncleanness is still on him. This is the law. When a person dies in a tent, everyone who enters the tent and everything in the tent will be unclean for 7 days. Every open container without a cover closely attached is unclean. Also, whoever is in an open field and touches a corpse, whether it's someone killed by a weapon or someone who died naturally, or the bone of a person or a grave, will be unclean for 7 days. For the unclean person, they are to take some of the ashes of the animal burned up as a purification from sin and add them to fresh water in a container. A clean person is to take a bunch of hyssop leaves, dip it in the water, and sprinkle it on the tent, on all the containers, on the people who were there, and on the person who touched the bone, or the person killed, or the one who died naturally, or the grave. The clean person will sprinkle the unclean person on the 3rd and 7th days. On the 7th day he will purify him. Then he will wash his clothes and himself in water, and he will be clean at evening. The person who remains unclean and does not purify himself will be cut off from the community, because he has defiled the sanctuary of Adonai. The water for purification has not been sprinkled on him. He is unclean. This is to be a permanent regulation for them. The person who sprinkles the water for purification is to wash his clothes. Whoever touches the water for purification will be unclean until evening. Anything the unclean person touches will be unclean, and anyone who touches him will be unclean until evening. Chapter 20. The people of Israel, the whole community, entered the Zin desert in the 1st month, and they stayed in Kadesh. So again, this 1st month is the month of Nisan. There Miriam died, and there she was buried. Because the community had no water, they assembled themselves against Moshe and Aharon. The people quarreled with Moshe and said, "We wish we had died when our brothers died before Adonai. Why did you bring Adonai's community into this desert? To die there, we and our livestock. Why did you make us leave Egypt? To bring us to this terrible place without seed, figs, grapevines, pomegranates, or even water to drink?" Moshe and Aharon left the assembly, went to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and fell on their faces, and the glory of Adonai appeared to them. Adonai said to Moshe, "Take the staff, assemble the community, you and Aharon your brother, and before their eyes tell the rock to produce its water." And I want you to make a note of that. He said, "Tell the rock." You will bring them water out of the rock, and thus enable the community and the livestock to drink. Moshe took the staff from the presence of Adonai as he had ordered him. But after Moshe and Aharon had assembled the community in front of the rock, he said to them, "Listen here, you rebels. Are we supposed to bring you water from this rock?" Then Moshe raised his hand and hit the rock twice with his staff. Now he was told to talk to the rock, was not told to hit it. Water flowed out in abundance, and the community and their livestock drank. But Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, "Because you did not trust in me, so as to cause me to be regarded as holy by the people of Israel, you will not bring this community into the land I have given them." This is Meribah spring, disputation spring, where the people of Israel disputed with Adonai, and he was caused to be regarded as holy by them. Moshe sent messengers from Kadesh to the spring of Edom. "This is what your brother Israel says. You know all the troubles we have gone through, that our ancestors went down into Egypt. We lived in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians treated us and our ancestors badly. But when we cried out to Adonai, he heard us, sent an angel, and brought us out of Egypt. Now here we are in Kadesh, a city at the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not go through fields or vineyards, and we won't drink any water from the wells. We will go along the king's highway, not turning aside either to the right or to the left, until we have left your territory. But Edom answered, You are not to pass through my land. If you do, I will come out against you with a sword. The people of Israel replied, We will keep to the highway. If we do drink the water, either we or our livestock, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through on foot. It's nothing. But he said, You are not to pass through. And Edom come out against them with many people and much force. Thus Edom refused to allow Israel passage through its territory, so Israel turned away. They traveled on from Kadesh, and the people of Israel, the whole community, arrived at Mount Hor. At Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, Aharon is about to be gathered to his people, because he is not to enter the land I have given to the people of Israel, inasmuch as you rebelled against what I said at the Meribah spring. Take Aharon and Eleazar, his son, bring them up Mount Hor, remove the garments from Aharon, and put them on Eleazar, his son. Aharon will be gathered to his people. He will die there. Moshe did as Adonai had ordered. They went up onto Mount Hor before the eyes of the whole community. Moshe removed the garments from Aharon and put them on Eleazar, his son. And Aharon died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moshe and Eleazar came down the mountain. When the entire community saw that Aharon was dead, they mourned Aharon 30 days, the whole house of Israel. Then the king of Arad, a Canaanite who lived in the Negev, this is chapter 21. Verse 1, Then the king of Arad, a Canaanite who lived in the Negev, heard that Israel was approaching by way of Atarim. So he attacked Israel and took some of them captive. Israel made a vow to Adonai, If you will hand this people over to me, I will completely destroy their cities. Adonai listened to what Israel has said and handed over the Canaanite. So they completely destroyed them and their cities and named the place Hormah, complete destruction. Then they traveled from Mount Hor on the road toward the Sea of Sup in order to go around the land of Edom. But the people's tempers grew short because of the detour. The people spoke against God and against Moshe. Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to die in the desert? There's no real food. There's no water. And we're sick of this miserable stuff we're eating. In response, Adonai sent poisonous snakes among the people. They bit the people, and many of Israel's people died. The people came to Moshe and said, We sinned by speaking against Adonai and against you. Pray to Adonai that he rid us of these snakes. Moshe prayed for the people, and Adonai answered Moshe, Make a poisonous snake and put it on a pole. When anyone who has been bitten sees it, he will live. Moshe made a bronze snake and put it on the pole. If a snake had bitten someone, then, when he looked toward the bronze snake, he stayed alive. The people of Israel traveled on and camped at Ovot. From Ovot they traveled and camped at Aye Haravarim, in the desert fronting Moab on the east. From there they traveled and encamped in Badi Zered. From there they traveled and camped on the other side of the Arnon, in the desert. This river comes out of the territory of the Emorite, for the Arnon is the boundary between Moab and the Emorite. This is why it says in the book of the Wars of Adonai, Rahab at Suphah, the bodies of Arnon, and the slope of the bodies extended as far as the side of Ar, which lie next to the territory of Moab. From there they went on to Beer well, that is the well about which Adonai said to Moshe, Assemble the people, and I will give them water. Then Israel sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing to the well sung by the princes, dug by the people's leaders with the scepter, with their staffs. From the desert they went to Matana, from Matana to Nahaliel, from Nahaliel to Bamat, and from Bamat to the valley by the plain of Moab at the start of the Pisgah Range, where it overlooks the desert. Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of Amorah, with this message: "Let me pass through your land. We won't turn aside into fields or vineyards, and we won't drink any water from the wells. We will go along the king's highway until we have left your territory." But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his territory. Instead, Sihon mustered all his people and went out into the desert to fight Israel. On reaching Yahatz, he fought Israel. Israel defeated him by force of arms and took control of his land from the Arnon to the Yabok River, but only as far as the people of Ammon, because the territory of the people of Ammon was well defended. Israel took all these cities. Israel lived in all the cities of Amorah, and Heshbon, and all its surrounding towns. Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of Amorah, who fought against the former king of Moab and conquered all his land up to the Arnon. This is why the storytellers say, "Come to Heshbon, let it be rebuilt. Let Sihon's city be restored." For fire burst out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It consumed Ar of Moab, the lords of Arnon's high places. Woe to you, Moab! You are destroyed, people of Chemosh. He let his sons be fugitives and his daughters captives He let his sons be fugitives and his daughters captives of Sihon, king of the Amorah. We shut them down. Heshbon is destroyed, all the way to Devon. We even laid waste to Nophok, which extends as far as Mepha. Thus Israel lived in the land of the Amorah. Moshe sent men to reconnoiter Yazer. They captured its towns and drove out the Amorah who were there. Then they turned and went up along the road to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, marched out against them, he with all his people, to fight Edrei. Adonai said to Moshe, "Don't be afraid of him, for I have handed him over to you with all his people and his land. You will treat him just as you did Sihon, king of the Amorah, who lived at Heshbon." So they struck him down with his sons and all his people, until there was no one left alive, and then they took control of his land. Chapter 22. And the people of Israel traveled on and encamped in the plains of Moab, beyond the Jordan River, opposite Jericho, which we know as Jericho. Now Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorah. Moab was very afraid of the people, because there were so many of them. Moab was overcome with dread because of the people of Israel. So Moab said to the leaders of Midian, "This sword will lick up everything around us, the way an ox licks up grass in the field." Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of Moab at that time. He sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, at Petor by the Euphrates River, in his native land, to tell him, "Listen, a people has come out of Egypt, spread all over the land, and settled down next to me. Therefore, please come and curse this people for me, because they are stronger than I am. Maybe I will be able to strike them down and drive them out of the land, for I know that whomever you bless is in fact blessed, and whomever you curse is in fact cursed." The leaders of Moab and Midian left, taking with them the payment for divining, came to Balaam and spoke to him the words of Balak. He said to them, "Stay here tonight, and I will bring you back whatever answer Adonai tells me." So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent me this message. The people who came out of Egypt have spread over the land. Now come and curse them for me. Maybe I'll be able to fight against them and drive them out." God answered Balaam, "You are not to go with them. You are not to curse the people, because they are blessed. Balaam got up in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, Return to your own land, because Adonai refuses to give me permission to go with you. The princes of Moab got up, returned to Balak, and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. Balak again sent princes, more of them and of higher status than the first group. They went to Balaam and said to him, Here's what Balak the son of Zippor says. Please don't let anything keep you from coming to me. I will reward you very well, and whatever you say to me, I will do. So please come and curse this people for me. Balaam answered the servants of Balak, If Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Adonai my God to do anything, great or small. Now please, you two stay here tonight, so that I may find out what else Adonai will say to me. God came to Balaam during the night and said to him, If the men have come to summon you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you. So Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. But God's anger flared up because he went, and the angel of Adonai stationed himself on the path to bar his way. Now I think this is actually Yeshua, and you'll find out why in just a moment. He was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. The donkey saw the angel of Adonai standing on the road, drawn sword in hand. So the donkey turned off the road into the field. And Balaam had to beat the donkey to get it back on the road. Then the angel of Adonai stood on the road where it became narrow, as it passed among the vineyards and had stone walls on both sides. The donkey saw the angel of Adonai and pushed up against the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against the wall. So he beat it again. The angel of Adonai moved ahead and stood in a place so tight that there was no room to turn either right or left. Again the donkey saw the angel of Adonai and lay down under Balaam, which made him so angry that he hit the donkey with his stick. But Adonai enabled the donkey to speak, and it said to Balaam, What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? Balaam said to the donkey, It's because you've been making a fool of me. I wish I had a sword in my hand. I would kill you on the spot. The donkey said to Balaam, I'm your donkey, right? You've ridden me all your life, right? Have I ever treated you like this before? No, he admitted. Then Adonai opened Balaam's eyes so that he could see the angel of Adonai standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, and he bowed his head and fell on his face. The angel of Adonai said to him, Why did you hit your donkey 3 times like that? I have come out here to bar your way because you are rushing to oppose me. That's why I think that it was actually Yeshua, because he's opposing Adonai. The donkey saw me and turned aside these 3 times, and indeed, if she hadn't turned away from me, I would have killed you by now and saved it alive. Balaam said to the angel of Adonai, I have sinned. I didn't know that you were standing on the road to block me. No, therefore, if what I am doing displeases you, I will go back. But the angel of Adonai said to Balaam, No, go on with the men, but you are to say only what I tell you to say. So Balaam went along with the princes of Balak. See, and there's another thing, is that God had said earlier that he could only say what he told him to say. That's another reason why I think it was Yeshua standing there. And this story makes me think of a little story that I've read on the internet several times about somebody complaining about that they were late getting up from work. They were late getting up so they could go to work. and all these different things happened to them. The sandwich that they got was bad, and or no, they were no, that wasn't it. That they had to wait a long time to get their sandwich, and just all these different things happened to them. And so they wound up being late and work, and so then they were upset, and God told them that He caused these things to happen, or let these things happen to them, because different things, like they woke him up late because of there was an angel of death standing there to take his life, and the reason for not being able to get the sandwich on time was because the person that was originally going to make the sandwich was sick, and he would have gotten that disease. And so by causing him to have to wait to get his sandwich, he was able. Then somebody else actually made the sandwich, and it's just all these different things. So we don't know why things are happening whenever they do. So we just need to thank God for being there and taking care of what's going on. Verse 36. When Balak heard that Balaam had come, he went out to meet him in the city of Moab at the Arnon border, in the farthest reaches of the territory. Let me start that over. Verse 36. When Balak heard that Balaam had come, he went out to meet him in the city of Moab at the Arnon border, in the farthest reaches of the territory. Balak said to Balaam, I sent more than once to summon you. Why didn't you come to me? Didn't you think I couldn't pay you enough? Balaam replied to Balak, Here, I've come to you, but I have no power of my own to say anything. The word that God puts in my mouth is what I will say. Balaam went with Balak. When they arrived at Kiryat Hutzot, Balak sacrificed cattle and sheep, then sent to Balaam and the princes with him. In the morning Balak took Balaam and brought him up to the high places of Baal. From there he could see a portion of the people. Chapter 23. Balaam said to Balak, Build me 7 altars here, and prepare me 7 bulls and 7 rams here. Balak did as Balaam said. Then Balak and Balaam offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Balaam said to Balak, Stand by your burnt offering while I go off. Maybe Adonai will come and meet me, and whatever he shows me I will tell you. He went off to Bear Hill. God met Balaam, who said to him, I prepared the 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Adonai put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, Go on back to Balak and speak as I tell you. He went back to him, and there, standing by his burnt offering, he with all the princes of Moab, he made his pronouncement. Balak, the king of Moab, brings me from Aram, from the eastern hills, saying, Come, curse Yaakov for me. Come and denounce Israel. How am I to curse those whom God has not cursed? How am I to denounce those whom Adonai has not denounced? From the top of the rocks I see them. From the hills I behold them. Yes, a people that will dwell alone, and not think itself one of the nations. Who has counted the dust of Yaakov, or numbered the ashes of Israel? May I die as the righteous die. May my end be like theirs. Balak said to Balaam, What have you done to me? To curse my enemies is why I brought you in here. You have totally blessed them. He answered, Mustn't I take care to say just what Adonai puts in my mouth? Balak said to him, All right, come with me to another place where you can see them. You will see only some of them, not all. But you can curse them for me from there. He took him through the field of Zophim to the top of the Pisgah range, built 7 altars, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Balaam said to Balak, "Stand here by your burnt offering while I go over there for a meeting." Adonai bet Balaam put a word in his mouth and said, "Go on back to Balak and speak as I tell you." He came to him and stood by his burnt offering with all the princes of Moab. Balak asked him, "What did Adonai say?" Then Balaam made his pronouncement. "Get up, Balak, and listen. Turn your ears to me, son of Zippor. God is not a human who lies or a mortal who changes his mind. When he says something, he will do it. When he makes a promise, he will fulfill it. Look, I am ordered to bless. When he blesses, I can't reverse it. No one has seen guilt in Yaakov or perceived perversity in Israel. Adonai their God is with them and acclaimed as king among them. God, who brought them out of Egypt, gives them the strength of a wild ox. Thus one can't put a spell on Yaakov. No magic will work against Israel. It can now be said of Yaakov and Israel, what is this that God has done? Here is a people rising up like a lioness. Like a lion he rears himself up. He will not lie down till he eats up the prey and drinks the blood of the slain." Balak said to Balaam, "Obviously you won't curse them, but at least don't bless them." However, Balaam answered Balak, "Didn't I warn you that I must do everything Adonai says?" Balak said to Balaam, "Come, I will take you now to another place. Maybe it will please God for you to curse them for me from there." Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, overlooking the desert. Balaam said to Balak, "Build me 7 altars here, and prepare me 7 bulls and 7 rams." Balak did as Balaam said, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Chapter 24. When Balaam saw that it pleased Adonai to bless Israel, he didn't go as When Balaam saw that it pleased Adonai to bless Israel, he didn't go, as at the other times, to make use of divination, but looked out toward the desert. Balaam raised his eyes and saw Israel camped tribe by tribe. Then the Spirit of God came upon him, and he made his pronouncement. "This is the speech of Balaam, son of Beor, the speech of the man whose eyes have been opened, the speech of him who hears God's words, who sees what Shaddai sees, who is fallen yet has open eyes. How lovely are your tents, Jacob, your encampments, Israel. They spread out like valleys, like gardens by the riverside, like secular aloes planted by Adonai, like cedar traps next to the water. Water will flow from their branches, their sea will have water aplenty. Their king will be higher than Agag, and his kingdom lifted high. God who brought them out of Egypt gives them the strength of a wild ox. They will devour the nations opposing them, break their bones, pierce them with all their arrows. When they lie down, they crouch like a lion or like a lioness. Who dares to rouse it? Blessed be all who bless you. Cursed be all who curse you." Balak blazed with fury against Balaam. He struck his hands together and said to Balaam, "I summoned you to curse my enemies, but here you have done nothing but bless them 3 times already. Now you had better escape to your own place. I have planned to reward you very well, but now Adonai has deprived you of payment." Balaam answered Balak, "Didn't I tell the messengers you sent me that even if Balak would give me his palace full of silver and gold, I could not of my own accord go beyond the word of Adonai to do either good or bad? That what Adonai had said is what I would say? But now that I am going back to my own people, come, I will warn you what this people will do to your people in the Aharat Hayim, that is the world to come, or in the future." So he made his pronouncement. This is the speech of Balaam, son of Beor, the speech of the man whose eyes have been opened, the speech of him who hears God's words, who knows what Elyon says, who sees what Shaddai sees, who has fallen, yet has open eyes. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not soon. A star will step forth from Yaakov, a scepter will arise from Israel, to crush the corners of Moab, and destroy all the descendants of Shet. And we know that star is that they're talking about, and the scepter is actually Yeshua. His enemies will be his possessions, Edom and Seir possessions. Israel will do valiantly. From Yaakov will come someone who will rule, and he will destroy what is left of the city. He saw Amalek and made this pronouncement. First among nations was Amalek, but destruction will be its end. He saw the Canaanite and made this pronouncement. Though your dwelling is firm, your nest set on rock, Cain will be wasted, while captives to Asher. Finally, he made this pronouncement. Oh no! Who can live when God does this? But ships will come from the coast of Kittim to subdue Asher and subdue Eber. But they too will come to destruction. Then Balaam got up, left, and returned to his home, and Balak too went his way. Chapter 25. Israel stayed at Shittim, and there the people began whoring with the women of Moab. These women invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods, where the people ate and bowed down to their gods. With Israel thus joined to Baal Peor, the anger of Adonai blazed up against Israel. Adonai said to Moshe, Take all the chiefs of the people and hang them facing the sun before Adonai, so that the raging fury of Adonai will turn away from Israel. Moshe said to the judges of Israel, Each of you is to put to death those in his tribe who have joined themselves to Baal Peor. Just then, in the sight of Moshe and the whole community of Israel, as they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting, a man from Israel came by, bringing to his family a woman from Midian. When Pinhas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon the Cohen, saw it, he caught up from the middle of the crowd, took a spear in his hand, and pursued the man from Israel right into the inner part of the tent, where he thrust his spear through both of them, the man from Israel and the woman through her stomach. Thus was the plague among the people of Israel stopped. Nevertheless, 24,000 died in the plague. Adonai said to Moshe, Pinhas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon the Cohen, has deflected my anger from the people of Israel by being as zealous as I am, so that I didn't destroy them in my own zeal. Therefore say, I am giving him my covenant of shalom. Shalom means peace. Making a covenant with him and his descendants after him, that the office of Cohen will be theirs forever. This is because he was zealous on behalf of his God and made atonement for the people of Israel. The name of the man from Israel who was killed, put to death with the woman from Midian, was Zimri, the son of Salu, leader of one of the clans from the tribe of Shimon. The name of the woman from Midian who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur, and he was head of the people in one of the clans of Midian. Adonai said to Moshe, Treat the Midianim as enemies and attack them, because they are treating you as enemies by the trickery they used to deceive you in the Peor incident, and in the affair of their sister Cosbi, the daughter of the leader from Midian, the woman who was killed on the day of the plague, the Peor incident. After the plague, Chapter 26. Adonai said to Moshe and Eleazar, the son of Aharon the Cohen, "Take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel, 20 years old and over, by their ancestral clans, who are subject to military service in Israel." Moshe and Eleazar the Cohen spoke with them on the plains of Moab by the Jordan, across from Jericho, explaining, "Those 20 years old and over who came out of the land of Egypt, as Adonai ordered Moshe and the people of Israel." The census results begin with Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. The descendants of Reuben were of Hanoch, the family of the Hanaki, of Palu, the family of the Plui, of Hetzron, the family of the Hetzroni, and of Carmi, the family of the Carmi. These were the families of the Reubeni. Of them were counted 43,730. The sons of Palu, Eliab, and the sons of Eliab, Nemuel, Datan, and Abiram. These are the same Datan and Abiram, men of reputation in the community, who rebelled against Moshe and Aharon and Korach's group, and they rebelled against Adonai. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korach when that group died. And the fire consumed 250 men, and they became a warning sign. And here, however, the sons of Korach did not die. So remember, I told you that even though it said that all their households, that these were only the people that actually went across against Adonai. So the families of these people that were sit down into Sheol that did not go against Adonai, obviously they didn't die, because the sons of Korach didn't die. So they were obviously not against Adonai. Verse 12. The descendants of Shimon by their families were of Nemuel, the family of the Nemueli, of Yamin, the family of the Yamini, of Yakin, the family of the Yakini, of Zerach, the family of the Zeraki, and of Shaul, the family of the Shaula. These were the families of the Shimoni, 22,200. The descendants of Gad by their families were of Zaphon, the family of the Zaphoni, of Hagah, the family of the Hagah, of Shuni, the family of the Shuni, of Ozni, the family of the Ozni, of Eri, the family of the Eri, of Arad, the family of the Aradai, and of Areli, the family of the Areli. These were the families of the sons of Gad, according to those counted by them, 40,500. The sons of Yehuda, first and Onan, but and Onan died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Yehuda who had descendants were of Shelah, the family of the Shalani, of Peretz, the family of the Partzi, and of Zerach, the family of Zarkiah. The sons of Peretz were of Hetzron, the family of the Hetzroni, and of Hamul, the family of the Humalah. These were the families of Yehuda, according to those counted them, 76,500. The descendants of Issachar by their families were of Tola, the family of the Toliah, of Pubah, the family of the Punah, of Yashuv, the family of the Shiva, and Shimon, the family of the Shimoni. These were the families of Issachar, according to those counted them, 64,300. The descendants of Zebulun by their families were of Sered, the family of the Sordai, of Elon, the family of the Eloni, and of Yaliel, the family of the Yalieli. These were the families of the Zebulani, according to those counted of them, 60,500. The sons of Joseph by their families were Manasseh and Ephraim. The descendants of Manasseh were of Machir, the family of the Machiri. Machir was the father of Gilad. Of Gilad, the family of the Galadi. These are the descendants of Gilad. Of Iezer, the family of the Iezri. Of Helek, the family of the Helki. Of Azriel, the family of the Azrieli. Of Shechem, the family of the Shechmi. Of Shemida, the family of the Shemidai. And of Hefer, the family of the Hephri. Zelophehad, the son of Hefer, had no sons, but did have daughters. The names of the daughters of Zelophehad were Maklah, Noah, Hagla, Milcah, and Zerza. These were the families of Manasseh. Of them were counted 52,700. These are the descendants of Ephraim by their families. Of Shutolak, the family of the Shutolaki. Of Becher, the family of the Bakri. Of Tehon, the family of the Tehani. These are the descendants of Shutolak. Of Aaron, the family of the Irani. These were the families of the descendants of Ephraim, according to those of them that were counted, 32,500. These were the descendants of Joseph by their families. The descendants of Benjamin by their families were of Bela, the family of the Balai, of Ashbel, the family of the Ashbelai, of Aharam, the family of the Aharabi, of Shufam, the family of the Shufami, and of Hufam, the family of the Hufami. The sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman of Ard, the family of the Ardai, and Naaman, the family of the Naomi. These were the descendants of Benjamin by their families. Of them were counted 45,600. The descendants of Dan by their families were of Shuchem, family of the Shuhami. These are the families of Dan by their families. All the families of the Shuhami, according to those of them that were counted, were 64,400. The descendants of Asher by their families, Yimnah, the family of the Yimnah, of Yishvi, the family of the Yishvi, and of Beriah, the family of the Beriah. Of the family of the descendants of Beriah, of Heber, the family of the Hebri, of Malchiel, the family of the Malchieli. The name of Asher's daughter was Sirach. These were the families of the descendants of Asher, according to those of them that were counted, 53,400. The descendants of Naphtali by their families, of Yaksiel, the families of the Yaksieli, of Guni, the family of the Guni, of Yetzer, the family of the Yetzri, and of Shalem, the family of the Shalemi. These are the families of Naphtali according to their families. Those of them that were counted were 45,400. Thus, those who were counted of the people of Israel numbered 601,730. Adonai said to Moshe, "The land is to be parceled out among these as a possession to be inherited, according to the number of names. To those families with more persons, you are to give a greater inheritance, and to those with fewer, you are to give a smaller inheritance. Each family's inheritance is to be given according to the number counted in it. However, the land is to be awarded by lot. They will inherit according to the names of the tribes of their ancestors. But the inheritance is to be parceled out by lot between the families with more and those with fewer." Those counted among the Levi by their families were of Gershon, the family of the Gershuni, of Kahat, the family of the Kahati, and of Merari, the family of the Merari. These are the families of Levi: the family of the Livni, the family of the Hebroni, the family of the Makli, the family of the Mushi, and the family of the Korah. Kahat was the father of Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt, and she bore to Amram, Aharon, Moshe, and their sister Miriam. To Aharon were born Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. But Nadab and Abihu died when they offered unauthorized fire before Adonai. Those males 1 month old or more counted to the Levi were 23,000. These were not included in the census of the people of Israel, because no land for inheritance was given to them among the people of Israel. These are the ones counted by Moshe and Eleazar the Cohen, who took a census of the people of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. But there was not a man among them who had also been included in the census of Moshe and Aharon the Cohen when they enumerated the people of Israel in the Sinai desert, because Adonai had said to them, "They will surely die in the desert." So there was not left So there was not left even one of them, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Jehoshua, the son of Nun. And we can actually go back into Exodus. We're stuck given the genealogy there, and see that that Jochebed was actually Levi's daughter. So that's another. So you can see how important it is to pay attention to the genealogies, even though they're long and boring. Just pay attention to make notes, and that helps explain a lot of stuff. So this is the end of today's video. We'll start in the next video of chapter 27. And please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell, so that you'll be notified each time that a new video is uploaded. And the subscribe button, I'm not sure if anyone knows this or not, but just in case there's someone out there who doesn't, when you're subscribing, you're not actually paying for anything. You're not putting information. You just hit that button, and all it's doing is putting the channel that you want to subscribe to up on a little sidebar on YouTube, and that way it's a lot easier to find the channels, because you might forget, well, which channel where did I hear that at? And it's easier to find those videos, and it also it will let you know when video for whatever channel it is that you're liking is uploaded. So and you don't have, like I said, you don't have to fill out any information. You just hit that little button, and then you're automatically subscribed. So I hope you have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.